Hi everyone, welcome in to our Insecure Season 5, Episode 4 recap and review. Welcome. Just give us a few seconds for Samaria to join us. Hi Miss Relevant, Elite Health. Welcome in everybody. We're going to get started in just a few seconds. Yeah, welcome. And while we wait on Samaria, if you want, you can go ahead and put your favorite moment from episode 4. Hey, girl.
Hi.
Hey, y'all. Welcome in.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah. So one thing that I did want to do, since we're about 4 episodes in,
Mm-hmm.
is I wanted us to rate, like give our rating on the episode now that we've both watched it.
Okay.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10 based off of the, I guess, 4 episodes that we have so far. So 10 is like it blew it out of the park, and 1 is like y'all could have kept this at home.
A lot of people have been talking about that on Twitter. Like how they feel certain episodes weren't hitting them in the face the way they wanted. Whatever. I do think the Lawrence and Condola episode was probably the best. It was the most drama.
Yeah.
I definitely think yeah, that one. But this one, I would give an 8. What would you give?
Okay, if the last episode, episode 3, I would give that one a 10. Then
Same.
I'd give this one a 7 or 8. It's not fair because it wasn't as drama filled, but it was still good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, we can go ahead and get started now that we've given our rating.
Okay. So obviously we have to start with the beach scene. So I guess this is the event that she was talking to Nathan about. I was like,
Yeah,
wait, this is what we're waiting for, but whatever. So
yeah.
they're at the beach. Obviously she and Nathan have not talked since the situation happened, and so things are really awkward with them. So
Hmm.
what was the part of the beach scene that you liked best,
Hmm.
and why?
Okay, so I'll give my funniest moment of that scene. When Homeboy pulled up with the pizza and he was supposed to bring barbecue.
Just unreliable. Like,
Like, come on. Like, people are out here in the sun. The pizza is not going to cut it. Uh, but yeah, so that was probably the funniest moment for me. What I kind of thought was interesting is Molly is in this space of, I guess, being carefree and open, trying to maybe let her guard down. But of all the guys that were there, like she's like, dang, like nice looking guys over here, nice looking guys over there. She still seemed to gravitate towards the guys that were already like within Nathan's clique, which I get it, like I guess for storyline purposes, it helps just to like reuse the same people. But it just would have been nice to see her connect with someone that wasn't already in the fold. So we'll see where that goes.
yeah, how do you feel about Miss Molly? Because
I
I
feel like,
want her to do better, and I feel like I understand she's in this carefree phase, but
mhm.
I think she needed to find a happy medium. So where she was like Molly, who was like, I need a relationship, I need to find a husband. Now she's just the complete opposite, and I don't think that's a good fit for her either. I think somewhere in the middle, like you can have your fun, but don't just be out here with whoever. And I don't, yeah, be with someone who's at least a little bit serious.
Yeah, I feel like she swung too far left. Like she went from like one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to work out for her, like in the long run.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it will. But, we could be wrong and it could be something to it. But yeah, she's having her fun. I hope she gets it together soon. Enough of that, girl.
and then another thing about the beach scene was what's her name? Risha. You that always Okay, so that reminds me of I've been in work situations where we've been at retreats or wherever,
Mhm.
and it's always at least one coworker who just is doing the most, meaning they come dressed inappropriately or they like forget that it's like still a work function. And I'm
Mhm.
not that they work in a barbershop, but homegirl was doing a lot.
She was. But speaking of Risha, how did you feel about Issa feeling a way about her and Nathan possibly like linking up?
I feel like Issa, even though I can relate to her, I understand. Like, I'm always gonna have a special place in my heart for Issa, but it's like, girl, you've had a couple of opportunities. You used the day of the event to try to figure out where y'all are. Like, it just wasn't the right place or time. So
Mhm.
if they had been hooking up or whatever was going on with them, she couldn't feel any type of way because she friend zoned him. So
Exactly. That sounds like you have no right. Oh, are they together? Oh no, they're not. Oh, they definitely are. Like you have no right to feel this way. One because of the friend zone thing, but also because at this point you're giving missed signals. Like it's not
oh
you're his friend one day, you're asking him to come over the other. Like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You need to decide and stop playing with this man's emotions, Issa.
and I don't, at least they haven't shown
Mm-hmm.
that she ever went back to him to say why things didn't work out with Lawrence.
Mm,
I don't think that she's told him. She just said, oh, this last year has been a lot. But
yeah.
just that in itself is like, okay, well, he's kind of been your rebound guy when things with Lawrence haven't worked out. And I personally think if he knew the full story, he may not be as open and understanding of her crying in his mouth.
Well, that's true. Or he will because she was the one who broke it off, you know? She was the one who made the decision. It's not like she got left. She actively made that choice to not be with Lawrence. But the funniest moment to me was when she went up to him like to say hello and he was like, "Oh, thank you so much for coming." And she goes, "Yeah, great. And you?" I don't know why. But that was the most hilarious thing to me. She was so awkward. And then she goes, "Oh, you didn't ask. Okay." She was just killing it. She was killing it.
Oh man.
Yeah, so very awkward. Um, I will say, of course, I felt a way about her. I guess when she went to Nathan to talk finally, she maybe didn't know how to approach things with him, but she goes, "Oh, are we still friends?" And of course, his response was just like, "What do you want?" Like,
Yeah.
hey, focus. What do you want? Because if you want us to be friends, you know, like we can be friends, but she was just playing. How do you feel about him being in the friend zone for a whole year? What do you think his expectations were of the friend zone?
I think he's been waiting and lurking. Like he knew that things probably weren't going to pan out with Lawrence based off of what she told him. Um, Based off that conversation they had in that back room, I think when he was either moving into the barber shop or something. So
Yeah.
he's already getting a vibe from Lawrence, like, okay, this situation is shaky. So I think he's been out living his life, but still waiting and lurking. Okay, I'll stay in the friend zone until you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
They have that type of chemistry where they could be friends, but they could be more. So he was probably fine either way.
Yeah, I definitely think he was like, listen, I've been in this friend zone because even like a little bit later when he's talking to his friends about it, he's like, you know, we're in this friend zone space because that's what she wanted. So like obviously it wasn't something that he initiated, but I do think his expectation was something's going to happen on the other side of this. And so with him being invited, it was just like, oh, so this is the time. And then
Mhm.
it wasn't. And now she's playing the whole friend zone thing again. But I think like her expectation, which I believe is very unfair, is just that he will be there. Kind
Yeah.
of needs him because that last episode she was like, "Oh, is it that type of date?" And he's like, "Yeah, it is." And then she goes and invites him over the next time they speak. So yeah, I think her expectation is that, oh, he'll be here and available whenever I'm ready.
Right. And even how she seemed surprised that he just wouldn't want to like cuddle and console her all night, especially when she hadn't explained the situation. So I guess that kind of leads us into the car rides.
Yeah, but do you think he was wrong for leaving that night?
No,
Okay, I don't either.
because she didn't say why. And okay, I would have maybe been more understanding if she had followed up to say, hey, this is why I was emotional. She just didn't tell him anything. So he's thinking, I'm friend zone, but she's inviting me up. But then now she's crying in my mouth.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just go home. I mean,
Neither one of them is the best communicator, so I'm not surprised that we had that awkward moment on the beach, or whatever other awkward moments that they had. But yeah, you want to talk about the car scene?
oh yeah. So the car ride over. I guess we could start with the girls, and
Okay.
and so my favorite moment was definitely Issa and Molly texting back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
They had like that one-off moment, even though they weren't directly talking. And I love how Molly was like, I'm gonna just step in and get this done for my friend and find out this information. I could appreciate her just like
Yeah.
going forward, so Issa could just like chill, and then she knows kind of where I guess Risha and where he stands. So
Girl, Risha and Kelly is such an unlikely pair to me, but they got along so great. And I'm like, I guess, whatever. I kind of feel like Kelly can get along with anybody, though, and probably Risha too, so it worked. But yeah, I did appreciate, I was going to call her Yvonne. I did appreciate Molly just kind of like stepping in, being like, let's solve this. But also, I hate that we're having to do this like with Nathan. I just hate that we're in this situation where, Molly's playing the good wing woman and Issa is going back to one of her men. Like season 1, we had her with Daniel and Lawrence.
true.
To Daniel and some Lawrence. Season 3, that was when Nathan came, right? But it was still Daniel and Nathan. And then season 4, she goes back to Lawrence and now back to Nathan. So I'm just like, she is all over the place, like Nathan said, and I want more. I want
I,
better.
I mean, she's all over the place with the same like group of men, though.
Does that make it better?
I mean, I'm not saying that it's better or worse. She's just like bouncing around depending on like when things fall through.
I guess. So it makes me just wonder, okay, are you doing this because you really want this person or because they're familiar and they may or may, and well, in Nathan's case, I guess he's available. Yeah. Are you doing this because you actually want them or are you just making this harder on yourself because
Yeah.
you're there? So yeah. Um, I think this episode really highlighted Nathan's tendency to leave. And I was like, I wonder if they're playing that up because it's going to come into play later on. I feel like I'm almost expecting it to come up later on,
Mm-hmm.
just because it was just such a huge part of this episode. So he left her that night, which if he were someone who hadn't just kind of ghosted before, it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be as big of a deal. But because he has that history, and
Mm-hmm.
we're finding out now with like the whole cousin thing that, oh no, it wasn't just with me, it's with other people too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it's gonna come later on down the pipeline.
Yeah, if it does, that would suck. Because, later on in the episode, she was like, yeah, I'm afraid to get my hopes up. Which we don't have to talk about that right now, but you're right. It could be some foreshadowing there.
Yeah, and quick question: when his cousin first came, so I guess we can go to the bar scene now. But when his cousin first came with the wife, what did you think was going on there?
Okay. I'm not gonna lie, my first thought was the chemistry or energy is off.
Yeah.
And I hope it isn't some weird stuff that went down with them. Like the way she was looking, I couldn't tell if it was nervousness
Mm-hmm.
or like, ooh, like this is uncomfortable because of whatever could have happened.
I created a whole story. I was like, he and her got together. Maybe they weren't married yet, and then they got married later, and his cousin doesn't know. And so now it's awkward between the two of them and between him and his cousin because the cousin again doesn't know. So I created a whole storyline for these people. I'm glad I was wrong though.
Yes, yes, but I could definitely sense like something was off. And even obviously the stuff she was saying, but then, we find out later on that they don't know. So I guess in giving them some grace, if you don't know the full story or understanding, you just think, oh, it's our flaky cousin
Mm-hmm.
who, can't seem to get it together. He's maybe put us at risk at our home. Then, yeah, you may be a little bit flipping at the mouth when
Mm-hmm.
you finally have seen them a year later or however long. So,
Yeah. So since we're at the bar scene, I guess we can talk about like the conversation that Nathan had with Issa. One of the things that he said that I really appreciated was, "Oh, I didn't know we had expectations for each other," and I
mm-hmm.
thought that was a brilliant question because of how she was kind of wishy washy.
Mm-hmm.
This season with him so far. And so I was like, oh, that's a good way of kind of calling her out on why would I have expectations here? You said you wanted it this way. And so I really appreciated that question in their conversation.
Yeah, he seemed to want to get straight to the point, even though Issa was the one at different points in the episode who kept circling back to bring it back up because obviously things weren't resolved.
Mm-hmm.
But the questions and the way that she was going about it, it's like, girl, are you really trying to move things forward? Because
Yeah.
you just seem to be bringing this up, but not really trying to move forward towards a resolution. Versus him, he didn't bring it up as much, but when he did say something, it was just
Mm-hmm.
straight to the point, which I could appreciate that.
That's her personality. Remember when she was resolving things with Molly last season and they went and had that, was it brunch or breakfast or whatever? And Molly was like, yeah, we didn't really talk about much. And Issa was like, oh, I know how she works. We just got to pretty much key together for a little bit, do it
Mm-hmm.
a few times, and then we'll be back to good. So I think that's just how Issa operates, which
Mm-hmm.
is always direct. But there is another area in her life that she is direct, and we can get to that a little bit. Um, since we're at the bar, let's talk about the cousin and the wife when they sat down. So that interaction where it was like they're kind of ragging on him, talking
Mm-hmm.
about, I think she said something like, yeah, you might end up on the back of a milk carton. That might have been before they sat down, but just like they were throwing mad shade at my boy Nate. And so, how did you feel about that whole like scene and those interactions?
Yeah, so with family, it's hard to tell. With her being an in-law, it was kind of like, okay, girl, I don't know if that's fully your place, but if she's been in the family for a long time and they have kids, they just may have that type of dynamic. And they didn't really go into the full story about what happened. So I'm trying to give them some grace as to why they may be choosing that moment,
Mm-hmm.
bring it up or talk about it. But then he says, oh, I haven't seen them since I left their house. I haven't spoken to them either. um what was interesting though is how Issa kind of like came to his rescue. And so I think that's a part of her personality where she, even though they may not be together or there may not be a clear understanding of where they stand,
Mm-hmm.
for her she has this expectation of, well, you're still my friend, so I'm gonna stand up or like say something for you.
Okay.
Versus Nathan, when he was kind of in her position, I guess at her apartment, he was like, well, I'm gonna just go home because we don't have any expectations. So
I don't think it's the same thing.
no, it, it's not the same thing, but I think Issa puts that expectation on herself, like, oh, the water might be muddy with us right now, but I'm still gonna say something because I have that expectation on me
Mm.
and that we would just show up and be there for each other in those moments.
Yeah, that's true. And it did like loosen him up a little bit, like when they found out about the Jason Derulo thing, and he was like, oh, you a fan? Jason Derulo.
Uh, okay, so I was trying to figure out like, is Issa like a legit Jason Derulo fan? But it seemed like there's like a lot of satire. So I don't know if it was like they're really paying homage and they like him, or is it just like Yeah, he's kind of a cheesy artist.
Listen, he's cheesy, but his little fight and tussle thing made its way around TikTok. Okay. But yeah, I thought that was so funny, like his obsession. And then Molly deciding to go with Arik with an A. I was like, why an A? The E was right there.
Right there. Yeah, that was interesting. And the deciding factor was a cat. Like, I don't know. Once again, like she just kind of swung, I think, too far left. I don't know how you go from like being super uptight to being like, hey, I'm trying to decide what guy I want to have sex with tonight
Mm-hmm.
from a date out.
Yeah, she's just relaxing all her standards, and I don't think that was the goal.
Oh.
But
And, and then one more thing. So both of them seemed cool, but her like chemistry didn't really seem to like pop with either of them.
right.
Neither one of them seemed to be a great pick. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, or at least to me, like it's obvious that it is just a one night thing. I don't see anything serious coming from this. But she also did meet Andrew under those types of circumstances, like Coachella when they did
Mm,
the Molly thing. Um, so I don't know. I really don't know what could come of this. But anyway, so they decide to go to the Jason Derulo thing, and at least the guy picked her to go in with him,
that would have been something had he picked his homeboy.
right? So I guess she got it right because she got picked. I don't know, but so that was the scene where everything kind of like comes to a head with Nathan and his cousin.
Yes.
And so, what do you think of Nathan's cousin's reaction to how Nathan was acting during that time?
Uh, I mean, he never really told him what was going on with him. So it's hard because it's like the cousin shows up, he hasn't seen him in a while. It's natural for people to assume that you're still the same way if they haven't been around you. Later in the episode, Nathan says, "Oh, well, I just wanted him to show that I wanted to show him that I was doing okay or I'm doing good now." But that doesn't equate to maybe you changing the type of person you are as far as being flaky or just abruptly leaving or not being able to be counted on. So, I mean, it was understandable if he hasn't seen him. I will say though that part of me didn't like how I guess the wife was like, I'll take this L in terms of like your cousin thinking that I'm the villain in terms of like putting you out of the house. Part of me was like, okay, like don't let your wife, take I guess the fall for you. Like if you didn't want him there, you should have said something. Because
Mm-hmm.
like in-laws are already under a lot of scrutiny and pressure, and you're kind of the easy scapegoat when things aren't right with the family. So yeah, I didn't appreciate that, but I was thankful that he finally let Nathan know, because this entire time he's been thinking, oh, my cousin's wife, she don't see it for me. When the whole time it was actually your cousin who just couldn't find a way to tell you how he was feeling.
Yeah, but also she must not see it for him either because she was the main one talking about how
Oh,
flaky he was and how you just never know and all of this stuff. So I don't think she's like 100% innocent, but I do understand her not taking the fall. It's like if you're gonna put your cousin out, be a be a
yeah.
man about it and tell him what it is. It's your
Yeah.
house. Do you think it was a red flag that he didn't mention to Issa that he had family in that area?
No, because they were never really dating. Um, I mean, I don't think he lied about it. Like their interaction was so brief. And so I do think it is odd. Okay, so the first go around when they were, I guess, kind of together, but not really, I wouldn't have maybe expected him to like go into details around what family he had there. But
Yeah.
then years passing, y'all are friends. you don't think to mention it. However,
Mm.
I could understand not telling people maybe that you do have family in town if it's like drama or it's not the best relationship, because not everybody understands like family dynamics and drama. And if you tell people you have family in town, they want to know, okay, well, why are you not hanging out with them? Why are they not coming around? People just may not accept just the fact like, oh, I have family here, but I don't talk to them.
Yeah, I don't know. It was giving bad vibes to me. I like it's
Really?
been 2 whole years now because they jumped a year from the block party. So they've been friends for a year, but they were also
Hmm.
friends before then because he was really instrumental during the block party time. So it's like all this time that we spent together and you haven't even mentioned, like you had me feeling like, oh, I just came from Houston and I have nobody here because that's the narrative, you know?
But maybe that's how he felt. If you got a cousin that'll put you out, do you have anybody?
I suppose, but if you're having such like intimate conversations with somebody, like I would assume he was having with Issa, just based on their friendship, like she literally poured her entire life out on the table the first day they hung out, you know? So I
But,
just,
but that's where people are different, though. Like, once again, expectations, it just doesn't sound like Nathan. Maybe Nathan is that guy where you have to be in a serious relationship and dating for him to be like, hey, this is where my family is. This is, kind of the full picture of everything that's going on. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I know certain people in my life who have taken that approach when it comes to dating.
it
So,
would be a red flag for me. Even she thought it was strange. She's like, oh, like it's just weird that I didn't even know you had family here.
yeah.
But back to the whole his cousin like pretty much telling him, um, I think the cousin's response was warranted. If you're putting my family at risk, you do have to go. Like you can't think that's okay. And it can't be like you can't have hard feelings when you were putting these people's lives at risk. They have children, like
Yeah, and I agree.
babysitting.
I agree, but you know how people are in terms of like like family thinks that they can sometimes just do whatever and
Yeah.
that there's no boundaries, or they don't know how to respect like, hey, this is what can go and this is what can't. They just think, oh, we blood, we family,
Yeah.
it goes. And so I'm not saying I subscribe to that, but I have seen it where family just thinks like, oh, well, this is just how it is when it comes to family, and you don't put family out.
Yeah. Because we have like a few more minutes. What did you think of Nathan being like, well, I just wanted to show him, that I'm better now, but, forget, like, I can't control how other people see me. I thought that was a little bit, like, it was like faulty logic because it's like, you have you can control how they maybe not how they see you, but you're sitting on a large piece of information that could definitely shift the way that they're viewing you. No, you're not just an irresponsible person. You are dealing with something way bigger than that, and now you have it, you know managed a little bit more. So that I think is something important to disclose, especially
Yeah.
to I mean, to anyone, but especially to your family, because now they got you out here like the guy who is super flaky, and you're not. That's not your reality. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's like he's taking that approach of, well, man, forget y'all then. But then he hasn't given the full picture or story, or even at least given them a chance. Now, it's one thing if they were just like, oh, well, we don't care,
yeah,
but still have not told them. And I guess what I don't understand is you trusted Issa enough to tell her about your mental situation, but didn't want to tell her about the family. However, the family that you were living with during your manic situation,
this,
you don't want to tell them your diagnosis. Okay.
exactly.
Mm.
And then Issa trying to, well, I guess she could relate because of the whole Crenshaw thing. She's like, yeah, I can't control how people view me. But no, that's different
Yeah.
because like Crenshaw has the information. He knows that you fought for him. He knows, like, so it's a completely different situation. But I guess they bonded over that, and that's fine. I don't really see it for Nathan and Issa. So
Yeah, I will say after you've brought up, I guess, his what seems to be him kind of hiding certain information, I do feel like he is the type that could go ghost at any moment. And so I do worry for her in terms of getting involved with him if he could just like decide not to respond back or she just won't hear from him anymore. I can definitely see that happening. Um,
yeah.
and just to mention, I love Koya. She
I was like, girl, I'm so mad I'm leaking right now. I
she
do love her.
brings the comedic relief, even though it's like in short spurts.
Yeah.
I can definitely appreciate her character. And Crenshaw, see, I was already feeling some type of way about you after what you pulled, and you just solidified it. So,
Right. What is wrong with you? But the area that I like Issa's like assertiveness
mhm,
is you remember when she was leaving Lawrence's apartment, she was like, I'm not ready to go home yet. Like she explicitly said what it was that she was feeling. And I think she did that in this moment with Nathan, where she was like, I don't want to just be your friend. And it was the first time so where she was completely honest with
mhm,
I appreciate it. So I do like that about her. And then the other thing about her saying, "Oh, I feel like I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop." I
mhm.
can relate to that so much, and I understand why she would feel that way, especially because she and Lawrence went all in, and then it's like, ah,
It was,
things are going so great, and now we can't be together. So
yeah, cool, cool.
all right. So it's 8:32. I think that's everything that I had about
Yeah,
this episode. Predictions for next episode. What do you think is happening to Molly's mom?
so on my HBO app, it doesn't show me the preview. If since
Oh,
I watched it after it's
okay.
already aired, so yeah, I haven't seen it. You can give your prediction.
I'd rather not because yeah, I would rather have you see it than we can say. But thank you guys for joining us on our live. Just a couple of announcements, I guess. So we do have an episode that is out right now called The Independent Woman. So make sure you check that out on all podcast platforms. And of course, every Friday we do have a new episode coming. So, you can definitely stay tuned for that. And we'll see you guys next Monday for another Insecure recap review.
All right, bye y'all.
Bye.